Getting hit multiple times coming out of that bike section. More drivers coming to blows. Well, hello and good evening, everybody. Welcome back here to Slow Motion Broadcasting, and welcome back to the SKR Sim Racing League. This is round number 3 of this season, coming to you tonight from Long Beach. My name is Maunz. Alongside me in the commentary booth is Charles Boshell. Mike Braun is our producer for tonight's broadcast. Well, Charles, as we continue on throughout this first season of SKR action here on SMB, we continue on the trend of street tracks here in the second half. We had St. Pete last time out, a pretty storied track in the world of American open wheel racing. But when you think of street circuits and American open wheel, you think of Long Beach. It is a bread and butter combination, but despite that long history with IndyCar, Formula One, and F5000 many moons ago, this track actually has some pretty good sports car pedigree as well. IMSA races here every single year, so this could be a good fit as we get into the penultimate round of this season.
Yeah, absolutely. This is, once again, the schedule makers put some good tracks out here, and this is a fantastic racing circuit, the street circuit here at Long Beach. Very tight. You know, we talked about St. Pete last week, had some pretty tight corners in the mid sector there. This one, the cornering is at a premium. You've got to be right on it. Not a lot of room for error. Do have a pretty wide front stretch that's going to help these drivers out a bit, and then that back there between turn 8 and turn 9 is a nice good run as well. But otherwise, these corners are very difficult, very tight, and there's some pitfalls out there that probably will catch a few of these drivers out tonight as we get underway here, and I'm sure we will talk about that as we move along here, already in qualifying with Andrew Way on top. And hey, Andrew Way, McLaren making a visit for the first time this season, so a new car in our GT lineup.
Yeah, nice to see him out here on the racetrack for the very first time. And other names of note here out there on the racetrack. Logan Fulmer yet to set a qualifying time. It is not Logan Fulmer behind the wheel of that car. It is Gerald Street driving in his place here tonight. And Ryan Fulmer, that car will be driven by Colton Fulmer here tonight. So just a couple of bits of driver news as we go into the second round of the championship. Just a quick little mention of our championship points as we head our way into the season. Even with the 5th place finish he had last time out at St. Pete, it is still the Justin Ruth show so far here this season. 69 points, nice, is the gap between himself and Leo Le Carpentier, the Frenchman, looking to try and reel things in with a string of good results, including 3 podiums in the first 4 rounds of this championship. But certainly Justin Ruth's dominance to start off, wins in the entirety of the first half. Gonna look to try and keep him going. However, the newcomer Andrew Way may be a bit of an upset to that here as well. So that Justin Ruth and Leo Le Carpentier fight that we knew was going to be intense, there's another element added into it.
Yeah, absolutely. Is a new driver. Looks like he's got a little bit of pace, at least here in qualifying. But this track will tame the best of drivers. I've seen great racers here just absolutely bite it in these corners. So but good start from Andrew. But Justin has been pretty amazing for the entire season, as we will, I'm sure, see more of him challenging up at the front of the field, probably tonight and again next week.
Yeah, certainly looking forward to that. Speaking of, in 1 week's time, we're going to round off this season in style at Le Mans. So stay tuned, folks, here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. Never miss out on the racing action by hitting that subscribe button and the notification bell. As we get towards the end of this qualifying session, still looking to see some drivers set some lap times here. A friendly reminder to those tuning into this series for the very first time, 10-minute long solo session. So these drivers have the track all to their lonesome, and it's 2 laps to try and get the job done. If you can do it, you're going to be a hero. If you can't, you're going to be a 0. 6 drivers already setting a qualifying time. 2 drivers yet to get one on the board. It's Gerald Streets in the place of Logan Fulmer, who we ride on board with right now, heading his way off through the fountain section after turn number 4 and 5, the tail end of the aquarium. And Chris Barrett as well, yet to set a time in the lone Mercedes here in this field. Keep an eye on that number 2 car as we go throughout the night. Interesting note, though, about Pancoast was able to capture the victory last time out at St. Pete, the only driver outside of Justin Ruth to win so far this season. Comparatively disappointing, I would say, here in qualifying. Currently shotgun the field of the drivers to set a time that is in 6th.
Yeah, not having the greatest run. I figured the Porsche might be a little stronger this week because of the tight track, the tight cornering that is involved. So I thought the Porsches may have a bit of an advantage, but not really working out for Pancoast. And it's once again pretty difficult track here. Trying to get these corners right every time is going to be a tall order as we're riding on board here with Justin Ruth in the BMW. Working his way through turn 1, and you see the wall out there on the outside has caught out many cars, including a couple of Cadillac GTPs over the course of history.
Yeah, I remember that incident that Ricky Taylor had hang into turn number 1 here a couple of years ago, and the first thought that popped into my head, I'm dead serious, was you can't be that stupid. You can't. Well, you can, but don't. But either way, let's hope for some drivers not to go for a bonsai move heading off into turn number 1. It's certainly inviting here at Long Beach. But here is your starting grid. Andrew Way going to line up from the pole with Justin Ruth joining him there on the front row. Leo Le Carpentier will start this race in 3rd next to Jim Worth there in 4th. Ryan Fulmer will start this race in 5th. Of course, Colton Fulmer is behind the wheel of that car here tonight. Dan Pancoast will start in P6. Chris Barrett will be in 7th with Gerald Streets in place of Logan Fulmer, not saying a qualifying time, along with Barrett running at your 8 cars here, set to grab the green flag in a couple of moments' time. Charles, we know this track is going to be wild. We know this race is going to be wild. Things have been ramping up over the past couple of weeks here this season, so this is going to be a little bit kooky.
Yeah, it really is. And obviously, as we get this going, we always talk about this is, that first lap, you can't really just go flat out. The tires are not prepared, even though these guys are kind of working side to side to try and get some heat in the fronts. You just never get them up to the proper temperature there before you get started. And that run down into turn 1, as we saw, very, very tight confines. You get a tendency to either just lock up going down in there. Even with the best ABS system, you can still lock these cars down, slide through the corner, can't get the brakes done in time as the brakes need a little more heat in them. And then you're into the tire barrier, or you run it wide with that pit lane that kind of becomes the outer half of the barrier, or the barriers. We see a little contact there through the hairpin, and we haven't got to the green flag yet, and we're already making some contact as we get rolling.
Yeah, the green flag's out. The drivers are on their way, and we're already 3 wide as we head our way across the stripe. Andrew Way getting out in front and big contact as they head their way down the start-finish stretch into turn number 1. That's Leo Le Carpentier, the Frenchman in the Ferrari, getting spun around. Jim Worth able to escape from all that, and he punches his way up in a second. Justin Ruth somehow got away with that, ends up there in P3. Was mentioning how Andrew Way dumped it early as he headed his way out of the hairpin. And I think Indian suing stack up behind that was really what led to the 3 wide racing that we saw there. A wild start here at Long Beach as we take a look to see what in the world took place here. You can see Way in that McLaren already way out in front, but as you can see the Porsche trying to get the move done there. That's a 60 trying to sweep around the outside, and although it is a wide start finish straightaway here at Long Beach, it's still one where you do have to realize that you're attempting fate with any single move, as Jim Worth has run into trouble. That's heading his way through the back end of the racetrack and hitting the inside wall there as well. That's heading out of turn number 8. He got involved in an incident there from second as he had some help.
Wow, yeah, the 2 straightaways, it seemed like we had some big problems there. You see Worth involved with that BMW of Justin Ruth, I believe is who that was. We're running down the straightaways here, and they're, as you said, wide enough to support 3 wide, but you have to make sure that you know where the cars are around you, and maybe just a little bit of inexperience playing a role there. So a couple of turns on the straightest part of the track is a little bit bizarre to start this race off, but looks like good thing is, obviously, this being a development league, damage is turned off So these cars will pop the fenders back out, reset themselves, and you can get back to rolling. You're just going to lose a little bit of time.
And so it works out okay for some of the drivers, the fact they're able to continue, but for many of the drivers that found themselves at the receiving end of incidents, that's going to hurt them dearly. Not only the time lost, not only the iRacing incident point system that may come back to bite these drivers on the hind end a little bit later on here in this race, because trust me, those incident points are going to be a worry here on this tight and twisty street circuit. You also have to consider some of the drivers that got involved in those incidents, heavy hitters, Leo Le Carpentier. That's going to sting for the driver of the number 24 car, and made some big inroads on the championship over the past couple of weeks, but things just not going his way right at the start of this race. He's been at the receiving end of many a falling anvil so far this season, but unfortunately there for that Ferrari, it has felt like there's a magnet for falling anvils on top of that race car.
Yeah, really has. But he's also had some good runs. He's shown good pace. He's been pretty much one of the quicker guys out on track that's not named Justin Ruth. So he has shown. Whoa, there we go. 3 wide parking lot there, coming out of 1, and obviously, as you saw, nowhere for Le Carpentier to go, as the entire track was blocked, and you didn't see it until the very last minute. And that was just terrible there. We get another look at that. We're going to see Jim Worth here working his way around into the hairpin, and carries that around. Nice, nimble little move there by the Porsche. We're going to try and get another replay here. We've got Fulmer. Fulmer again, or Streets, and the 07 car there of Justin Ruth. More contact, and then you see the cars. They don't even see this until it's too late. They're putting their foot back on the gas, and the next thing you know, the entire track is blocked.
You know, that is tragic, doubly so for Le Carpentier, who's picked up a black flag as a result of that incident. That was not as a result of any sort of extracurricular activities that he found himself involved in. That contact putting him over the limit for iRacing incidents. 17x here in this series, and you wind up with a penalty. You hit 25 and you're disqualified. So Leo Le Carpentier gonna have to come down pit lane to serve that drive-through. It stings even worse at a track like this, Charles, because that start-finish straightaway takes up a bulk of this 1.9 mile long circuit, and when you have to come down to serve a drive-through, that's not even like getting stabbed in the back, that's like getting stabbed in the eye.
Yeah, as we see there, that just stopped on the track. That's Andrew Way. I was just waiting. I was letting some cars come through, so he's kind of backed off the pace. Just pulled over to the side. He's on the wrong way in the left turn lane there, as he just allows Pancoast and Fulmer to go through. But yeah, you're right, Ron. It's a very slow and long pit lane, and it's a tricky entry on top of that. So you really have to work. You really have to slow down as soon as you make that turn onto pit road, and then it's, I think, 35 miles per hour going down the full length of that pit straight. And so yeah, it takes quite a while. I think looking at Le Carpentier's time, 36.3 seconds from cone to cone. So that just goes to show you how slow that is, and that's not counting the little double 90 degrees you have to do to get into it to begin with.
Yeah, so that is going to sting for Le Carpentier. Currently finds himself tail end of the field, heading his way down the back straightaway as it stands at the current moment. Now, though, we find ourselves with a very different dynamic here in this race, as Andrew Way going to get past Gerald Streets, driving in the place of Logan Fulmer here tonight. That's a move there for second for your at 1 point race leader. It's given the top spot to Dan Pancoast there in the number 35 car. We talked about the pace from Pancoast a little bit earlier on here in this broadcast, how maybe it wasn't the qualifying session that he had in mind, but we know very, very well, Charles, that things can get a little bit wild here at Long Beach. And they certainly have. It's allowed Pancoast to climb his way all the way up to that top spot. 5 spots gained since the drop of the green, and that all-elusive race lead.
Yeah, and here's the funny thing about it. We're getting ready to start our 5th lap. You see Way really closing that gap down on Pancoast going into the hairpin here, and looks like he's going to make a run, and he does on the outside. His Pancos just moves to the left or to the right, and there goes Way. But we're working lap 5, and we haven't even talked about turn 5 yet, and that's usually the one that catches everybody out. So we've had some other drama in other parts of the track. Yeah, these.
Oh, no!
Again. Oh.
And disaster heading down the start-finish straightaway. This time it's Dan Pancos getting into it with Andrew Way as they headed their way down the start-finish straightaway. It was just unfortunate hard racing there. Those two drivers getting caught up in each other's hair as we take a look at the replay to show you what went down. Pancos, just wandering over to the left-hand side of the racetrack a little bit as he was heading his way through the braking zone. Even in these GT3 cars with ABS, you don't want to turn while you're hitting the brakes. So usually is an incentive to try and keep it as straight as you can as you head your way through there. But tragic stuff there for Pancos, who sinks down to 5th and now falling into the clutches of Justin Ruth, who in all this has gone through the field up and down like Otis Elevator so far here tonight. The one blessing he has comes in the form of the championship. Leo Le Carpentier in trouble here in this race. He's actually decided to call it a night, I believe. So trouble for him, trouble for Way as well. He stopped out there on the racetrack once more. I think he's trying to give this spot back here, or at least maybe give himself a little bit of a challenge. We saw how quickly he ascended his way back up the running order when he let those drivers go by earlier.
Yeah, maybe he's just stopping and checking his GPS to make sure he's got the right directions or something. Not really sure what's going on.
Avoid the LA traffic.
Then maybe that's what it is. But he's having some fun, I think, is what we're going to just end up being. I think he knows that he's got a little bit more pace than the rest of the field, and it's his first race out, so he's just having a good time and just doing some racing with some of these other cars as he has now closed up the gap to Gerald Streets in the 60 car there. Is looking to make another move here as they come out of turn 6. They'll work their way down 7 and into 8, which is another little tight corner here with those tire barriers, as we saw the Mercedes kind of bounce off the wall there just in front of them. And so yeah, that's Chris Barrett, who's up to 2nd. So he's gone from bottom to top to now looks like he's being closed down on from Way and Streets there, and so he may drop a couple of positions here as we keep going during this race. And we're coming up to the halfway point, and it's been pretty eventful for the first 10 minutes.
Yeah, that it certainly has. Things have been getting more and more wild here in this championship as the weeks have rolled along. We've been seeing more of these drivers begin to battle. A couple more incidents as things have gone along throughout this race. But of course, many of these drivers still looking to learn the ropes here in sim racing. Very similar shades to another league that we cover here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. One that you'll get to see later on here tonight. The Sim Racers Group, another brick and mortar sim racing location, but unlike SKR, based in Lansdale. They're based in California, specifically San Jose. And drivers still learning the ropes of what is a very complicated car and a very complicated racetrack here. May only have 11 turns, but again, at just a tick under 2 miles, Long Beach packs a punch. And through the years, you look at the drivers who have visited victory lane here as multiple bits of trouble heading out of turn number 8 as a big sideways snap there. Unfortunately, Chris Barrett gonna pancake himself into the inside wall. Andrew Way nearly followed in the process as Barrett gonna get overtaken by Justin Ruth. We're just gonna talk about the pedigree of drivers that can actually navigate this track well.
Yeah, absolutely. It is. You and I have seen our share of races here at Long Beach in multiple car classes, and we've seen some really dynamic races by drivers, and we've seen. I can go back to think of a league that I did a few years ago. It was an F3 league, and they stacked 50 cars out here for a race, and I think we had 20 in the pits by the end of the first lap. So it just goes to show that. This track can be a menace. The traffic can be even more of a menace. Just as bad as it is out here, I can imagine what it is in LA proper. Trying to, this is like rush hour on the 101. As we see a little contact there coming through 5 as Wade moves his way around back up into P2.
Yeah, it's Moments heading off through turn number 5. We talked about the challenging nature of that turn a bit earlier on. Off camber, the track falls away from you for a pretty lengthy period of time as well here on iRacing. There was just a pit into a void as you headed your way through there. Of course, to those unfamiliar with the history of Long Beach here on iRacing has a thing called tech tracks, which is pretty much an
Mhm.
entirely discontinued feature. They had 2 of them. Pretty much, SKR's, home track, as well as mine as a lifelong resident of the city of Philadelphia, not too far away from SKR's HQ out there in the Philly suburbs of Lansdale. New Jersey Motorsports Park was one of the original tech tracks, along with Long Beach. They
Mhm.
built up the track, didn't get all the scenery taken care of, the wonderful greenery and the scenery that you see here on iRacing right now. And it took them quite a while between them bringing it as a tech track and actually getting the artwork taken care of to bring this track to full iRacing spec. But there was one little remnant that was left behind. There was a little sliver where there wasn't any racetrack as we headed our way into turn number 5. That's thankfully been patched up. You can see the change in surface as they headed their way through there. And there's just a small little sliver so you can see underneath the racetrack there. But thankfully, it has been patched
Yep.
in the past couple of seasons here on iRacing, as we've got battles all throughout the pack. Is insane. We've got this one right now with Justin Ruth. We've got this one here, Jim Worth finding himself in the midst of a hornet's nest. It's actually a 3-car squabble here for 5th. Chris Barrett, Jim Worth, Dan Pancoast, as Barrett once again gonna find the barriers. He heads his way through turn number 8. Maybe a solid nominee for the most challenging turn on the entirety of this racetrack.
It really is. It's just one of those that you want to just send it in there. It's a 90-degree right-hander. You just want to send it in there, float the car through. You've got to get really, really close to the inside wall there on the right to make that corner work, and it will jump out and bite you. But then if you carry too much speed or you get back on the throttle, you just push out and you're into the barrier or worse, into the concrete. And so it's very difficult here as now Way has taken over the lead over, I believe that is Colton Fulmer. They're running in second, and I hate that we don't have Logan tonight because I would love to see what the Audi can do out on this track. But it's all right though. Colton doing a good job in his stead, running in P2 behind Way, and now Ruth and Gerald Streets are fighting amongst themselves here, along with I believe that is so they're sitting there behind P2, so this is 3rd and 4th. So nice little 3-car battle here as Way has checked out yet again with a nice little gap already made.
Yeah, so Way once again at the front of this field, looking to try and pull away here at the end of this race. If Justin Ruth can somehow get a podium out of it all, that will be unbelievable for that BMW. A car that has been through the ringer so far here tonight. But talking about the dynamics of that car, trying to get it around here, that cumbersome BMW around a tight, twisty street circuit like that, that requires some stones to put in an effort like that. So props are certainly due to Justin Ruth, whether it is a podium or not here at the very end. Saw the battle up in front really start to get dicey as a black flag for it's Ryan Fulmer's car right now in that number 60. It's actually Colton Fulmer behind the wheel of it. Black flag for him. That is once again for that 17-point incident point violation. So that is going to drop him out of this fight. Justin Ruth going to have to sink behind as he picks up a slowdown heading his way through turn number 5, the only section of this racetrack where he can do something of the sorts. So that's going to take a little bit of pressure off of Logan Fulmer's car, which is being driven by Gerald Streets here tonight. So this will turn it into a 2-car battle for second, and this will give P3, unless some falling anvil comes down, to Justin Ruth.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned the slowdown there in turn 5, cutting that too tight. You'll get the slowdown. The only other one that I think I remember is the straightaway. If you float the car over into pit exit lane, I think they'll give you a slowdown for that one as well. So those are the only 2, because everything else, if you're off the track, you're in the barrier pretty much, and that's pretty much the end of your night. Unless you got damage turned off like we have tonight, then you get to continue on. But it's not the preferred line around this racetrack, bouncing it off the barriers every corner. Oh, that's so tight. That inside line there at turn one, it's just so difficult to get that car wrapped around that corner there from that line in. But these guys doing a good job as now Ruth has got his slowdown cleared. But now Fulmer still has the 60 car still has to serve his penalty. So that drive through is upcoming. Pancoast with a slowdown behind them. So still some issues out on the track, not quite over with yet, as we have just about. I'm going to guess we're going to be at 2 to go when we come back to the line.
Yeah, so time's certainly running out here at Long Beach as the sun sets a start on this. Sun starts to set. Let me try that one again. Here at Long Beach for the second to last race of this season, as Justin Ruth still looking to get past the car right up in front there of Colton Fulmer, yet to come in to serve that black flag. We'll have to see him come down pit lane. Yes, he will. So this will give P3 to Justin Ruth, and this will let loose a battle which could get very intense here for the final 2 podium spots. This could get very, very dicey here. I want to give some love to some of these drivers, specifically Logan Fulmer. We mentioned Dan Pancoast being the hard charger at the time, as actually I'm going to scratch that point. Andrew Way just had an incident as he headed his way through turn number 1. Could see the smoke in the air, and that gap that was about 2 seconds has dipped down to about 7/10. As here it is, heading his way through, and once again, it's the corner exit that bites a driver.
Yeah, and it's that curb on the inside that time caught him out, made the car a little unstable, got back on the throttle, looped it around into the barrier, but he's back running again. But that gap he built up is no longer there, so 1.2 back to P2 there, so it's still another lap yet to go, so you never can tell what's about to happen.
Yeah, it may be about 3 miles, but it's 3 miles in Los Angeles, and there's a lot that can happen there. It's certainly going to be a wild one here at the end of this race, as a white flag will be in the air for Andrew Way as he looks to try and complete this drive. Justin Ruth now trying to punch his way up into second. He got that spot there from Gerald Streets behind the wheel of Logan Fulmer's race car here tonight. So that's a swap-a-roo for your final 2 podium spots. It's good news for Justin Ruth. I'll have to hit the books before we wrap up this broadcast, but certainly with a second place finish and Leo Le Carpentier set to finish down in 8th, this could be very good news for Justin Ruth as he looks to try and capture the championship here this season. Streets very slow as he headed his way out of the found sections. That may just about seal second for Justin Ruth. It may not be a 4th win, but it'll still be a very good result indeed as we look at a battle farther in the back. This is Dan Pancoast, who we saw have an incident hang down into this turn a bit earlier on, looking to try and bounce back, and the car of Ryan Fulmer being driven by Colton Fulmer here tonight. These 2 drivers now battling for 6th and 7th on the road. Not sure if we are going to see a swap-a-roo there, about a half a lap back of your top running pack. Hey, I'm a pod, and I don't know it, as Andrew Way heads his way through turns number 9, 10, and 11 to round off this race. It's one heck of a way to start off your time here this season in SKR. However short, it's going to be sweet. There it is. Andrew Way going to grab the checkered flag to win here at Long Beach. It's Justin Ruth coming home in second. Logan Fulmer running at your podium. Things spread out for the most part, so I'm wondering how things may go between Pancoast and Fulmer. It's not a move there from Fulmer, heading his way down into turn number 9. However, we still have that hairpin, and we have the turn before it, trying to pull off a NASCAR-style boot scoon boogie bump and run as they head their way through these turns, and a disqualification right there at the end for Colton Fulmer, and a black flag as well for Dan Pancoast. So I mean, it was going to end up 6th of 6 drivers see the checkered flag, so that's not going to hurt him too much there. But shows you how quickly those incident points can be collected here at Long Beach. Oh my, oh my.
Yeah, that was kind of crazy there as Fulmer makes contact there. Just as you said, I think is exactly what he was trying to do, was give him a little bump and run, and gave himself a 4X and a DQ. gave Pancos the black flag, which is going to cost him an extra 40 seconds, but it doesn't matter because there's nobody behind him. So the guy that was behind him that would have benefited disqualified himself. So there you go. But yeah, great run by Way. I think you kind of figured out pretty early he was going to be the class of the field tonight, and had a little fun, but still a good race. And these guys found themselves being challenged by Long Beach, which is usually what happens when you race here.
Yeah, and certainly a challenging one for these drivers, but for the ones that are, oh goodness me, that's Jim Worth upside down, heading down into turn number 1. We're going to take a look at the race results and pretend this isn't going on right underneath the graphics. Andrew Way is your race winner. Justin Ruth ends up in second. Logan Fulmer rounds out your podium there in third. Jim Worth will come across the stripe in fourth. Chris Barrett is in fifth. Dan Pancos, last of the drivers to see the checkered flag there in P7. Ryan Fulmer came up so close yet so far away. He ends up in P7. Leo Le Carpentier could have been a make or break night. Unfortunately, things are broken here as that car is all sorts of broken there as he was blinking in and out of existence. So the UFOs were trying to abduct him as he sent it into the turn 1 wall. Hey, it's a good way to crash test a GT3 car.
Yep. It is indeed.
God bless America. That is absolutely awesome. Folks, I do want to let you know before we wrap up this broadcast here on Slow Motion Broadcasting tonight that SKR is not just about the league that you see here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. It's about a community and a brick and mortar location as well. Founded in 2024, SKR is a sim racing center a stone's throw away from the city of Philadelphia. With high-end pro-grade motion simulators, it's a must-visit for fans of speed who want to experience the thrill of driving, all from the comfort of an indoor studio space. Located in Lansdale, just a short walk away from the nearest SEPTA station, you can learn more about taking a trip to get a taste of speed at skrsimracing.com. Well, folks, that was this race here at Long Beach. And Charles, a pretty wild one, all things considered. A penultimate race that some may want to forget.
Yeah, but it's a good learning experience. This is one of the more difficult tracks, and we talk about this. We had some really good tests, but this is just a test of car position and braking and cornering. That's just kind of beyond the pale for most other tracks. We're about to get a dose of high speeds next week, but this is like slow speed, quick cornering, and obviously just trying to get your car positioned properly. And it's a good workout for sure, and it's a good test of your patience and your driving ability. And if you can run here and run really quick, consistent laps, you could be pretty successful as an iRacer.
Yeah, certainly a learning experience for these drivers. It was pretty much the equivalent of not throwing a child into the deep end of the pool so they can teach themselves how to swim. It's basically throwing a child out of a C-47 plane into the icy, frigid Arctic waters around Antarctica. So it was definitely a test for these drivers. Many of them rose to the claim and were able to see the checkered flag and weather the storm here at Long Beach. But with one more race left to go at Le Mans, we still have a champion left to be decided. A lot of racing action coming up for you here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. Later on tonight, we have the Sim Racers Group Formula 3 Championship as they continue on their campaign here in season number 3 of 2026 here on iRacing. That's going to be a fun one to look forward to here. The Ray Esports Weekend Warriors Summer Series will be at Tsukuba with the Formula Vs. The Tuesday broadcast is a red herring, but the Sunday one is not. American Muscle Series is going to be running at Rudskogen next Tuesday. That'll be on July the 28th, along with the Sim Racers Group F4 Championship at VIR later on that night. Of course, the season finale here for SKR Sim Racing will be at Le Mans Wednesday, July 29th, and we hope to see you all there. SRG F3 will be later on that night. So, folks, that doesn't give you a reason to subscribe and hit that notification bell. I really don't know what does. But as for this broadcast here tonight for round number 5 of the SKR Sim Racing Series here tonight at Long Beach, that will just about do it. So for myself, Ron Maunz, Charles Boshell joining me in the commentary booth, and Mike Braun working all the cameras and the graphics in the virtual production hauler, I say thank you all so very much for tuning into the action here on Slow Motion Broadcasting tonight, and we hope to see you all wherever it is in the not too distant future.